Hey, today I want to talk a bit about Necro and what are my recommendations on which team to be using at which stage of the game. We're gonna be starting with the recommendations for a super beginner account. Those are going to be the teams that basically anyone can build, and we're going to build up from there all the way to the fastest known speed teams for clearing this dungeon. The easiest team to run out of all of the teams that I'm gonna be showcasing today is probably going to be this one, where you have Abigail going first, then you have a bunch of team-ups and Shaman going last. It is super easy to run. So first you take Abigail, you put her on ideally Violent and Revenge, and I put her on Speed, Accuracy, and Crit Rate with terrible stats, and she already works. Then you have 3 team-up units. You want to have 35 accuracy on all of them, and the turn order doesn't really matter except for the Rauk, and you want the Rauk to go first, and then you want the Shaman to go last. It works something like this. So you have first the Abigail, ideally using skill 2 to defense break. She can be awakened because Abigail has pretty much perfect AI on not using her skill 3, which in Necro would be just wasting turns. Then you have the 3 team-ups, and lastly you have Shaman. If we got way more damage on the Shaman, which is easily achievable, he has like 3 runes on him and he already works. But if you have better runes on Shaman, it will significantly speed up the whole team. And then on the boss, we have a bunch of multi-hits, and then Shaman to do the real damage. Again, multi-hits and Shaman for a bunch of damage. It is not the fastest team out there, but it will work even with terrible runes. So let's look at the runes. First, let's look at the Abigail. She's Speed, Crit Rate, and Accuracy on Violent Revenge. Ideally, you would go Attack, Crit Damage, Attack, but it works even like this. The accuracy cap for Necro is 35 accuracy, so we're overshooting by a lot. For the artifact, you want damage on dark and additional damage by attack, and here additional damage by attack. Then we have the Rauk moving. Ideally, he would be on Vampire. You can also put him on Rage or Violent. For the artifacts, you want co-op damage and damage on dark, and here you also want co-op damage. Then we have the Ikaru. It's a standard Ikaru. I believe you need 2383 defense for him to team up with 3 units. Ideally triple fight, but I have him on will because I use him on will for other dungeons as well. It can just as well be guard or whatever. Then we have the Saran. You want some damage on her, again 35 accuracy, and you're already good. Let's look at the runes. They're again nothing special, just some hero runes, not even leveled up properly, not grinded, anything. Here we have a blue rune. Just throw on whatever runes you have and she's probably gonna run just fine. And then the Shaman, he only has 3 runes and it already works. Ideally, of course, you would put crit damage on slot 4 and it would run better. Now let's say that you don't have Abigail or a Shaman, so what do? You can actually use Lapis for the attack lead, and then Fran, because Fran has multi-hits on her skill 1, except we want the other Fran. I have 2 of them, and oh, I have 3 of them. Yeah, we want this one. Nice thing about Fran is that her first skill is triple hit, and then she has 2 heal skills. You kind of want to have a healer here because the boss fights like this tend to be really long because you don't really have any guaranteed way to deal any damage, because Lapis can just use skill 3 and then Fran, she doesn't really do any damage on her own, and I'm not even sure what's the best thing for the Fran to do. If she uses skill 1, then you don't have attack buff to instantly clear the boss, and if she uses the attack buff, then you don't have enough multi-hits to clear the boss, but this team still works. So here you would go something like this. So first you have the Fran moving, hopefully buffing the attack power, but of course they don't want to do that right now. Then you have the Lapis. Ideally she would use skill 2 or skill 3 into skill 2. And then you have the Rogue doing a bunch of team-ups into defense broken enemies, hopefully. And if that doesn't happen, well, you still clear. It's just gonna take a bunch longer. For this team, you definitely do want to run your Rogue on Vampire, because he can take a bunch of turns and just kill himself on the golems, which is not something that you would like to see. This was one of the faster rotations. I've seen this going up to 2.5 minutes long, but the average is around 1.5 minutes. Let's look at the runes. So first we have the Fran. I have her on speed, nothing, and attack. And I have a bunch of HP on her and a bunch of attack. Both her skill 2 and skill 3 scale with attack power. So you just want to put like speed, HP, and attack on her, and she's gonna work just fine. For the artifacts, the left one doesn't really matter, but on the right side artifact, you do want skill 2 and or skill 3 recovery. Then we have the Lapis. She's on Vampire, and then the offset doesn't matter. Ideally, she would be 35 accuracy. If you don't have that, it's also fine. For the artifacts, you want damage on dark and co-op damage, and again co-op damage here. I didn't put those in, but that's just to showcase that it works even if you don't have very good stats on her. The other monsters are exactly the same as in the previous example. So you have the Vampire Rogue, Triple Fight Ikaru, and then Saren. I would very much recommend going for the team where you go for Abigail as your attack lead and Shaman as your damage dealer. Once you have farmed some vampire runes, you can also swap the Shaman for a star. As for the Astar, I already put some vampire runes towards her, and I put some decent artifacts, so she has co-op damage and some damage on dark. And if you want to run it like this, you want the turn order to be Abigail into Rauk, then Ikaru, then Seren, and lastly the Astar. Or once you already have very good runes, you want to switch the turn order so that first you have the Abigail, then Rauk, then Astar, and you want to aim for Astar killing the boss, and then Seren and Ikaru. But first I'm going to show the turn order where Astar goes last, because that is way easier to rune. So it works just like this. First you have usually Abigail going for skill 2, defense breaking, and then hopefully Rauk teams up with Astar, which just instantly clears the wave. And if it doesn't clear the wave, he will just keep killing the golems on his own and keep proccing into more skills. This team will usually clear the boss in 2 rotations, just like this. Now, if you want to try pushing this team to its logical limits, then you would have Abigail going first into Rauk, into Astar, and you want to have the potential for Astar to kill the boss on her own turn, and then the 2 team-ups from Seren and Ikaru to clear the boss for second time. For that, you will probably want to have Abigail on Violent Fight, Rauk on either Violent Fight or Triple Fight, and Seren and Ikaru on Triple Fight. So first we have the Abigail using her skill 2, then we have Rauk teaming up with Astar, and ideally the Abigail so that he resets her cooldowns. And then she defense breaks again, and then more team-ups, and team-ups, and team-ups. And then here she defense breaks again, and then Rauk again. Sometimes he just ignores the Astar completely. It's also fine, he just clears the waves on his own sometimes. And then on the boss, Abigail instantly clears the shield, and then Rauk teams up ideally with Astar, and Astar kills the boss like this. And then you have the two team-ups from Seren and Ikaru to clear the boss. If this happens, you have the potential to get a 20-second run, but those are very rare. As for the runes on this team, I already mentioned, this is the logical conclusion of this team, so the rune requirements are pretty high. First we have the Abigail. I put her on Violent Fight. I put her on a bunch of damage by attack, some damage on dark, and again damage by attack. The Rauk is triple fight, again damage on dark and co-op damage. And here we have co-op damage. 35 accuracy on everything. Then we have the Astar. I put my best Vampire Blade set towards her with a bunch of co-op damage. The Ikaru, again, just a standard Ikaru. And the Seren is again on triple fight, 35 accuracy, with a bunch of co-op damage. I would not recommend people to actually run this team like this, because regardless of what kind of runes you're going to put towards it, it's still going to run slower than the Twins team, which is the team that I'm going to showcase next. However, if you're interested in the leaderboards of the Necro dungeons, this is the team that you probably want to aim for, but even then, I would recommend to go for some kind of Lucian team rather than this. And in the final tier for Necro teams, we have Julie plus Twins. This isn't all that difficult to run, so you just need a Julie that does some damage. These runes aren't anything crazy. You have a bunch of damage on dark and damage by attack. Then we have Shaina. I just put her on triple fight. You can just as well put her on rage or whatever you want. Co-op damage and damage on dark and co-op damage here. Ikaru is just gonna be your classic Ikaru. Sabrina, whatever you use for Punisher script is gonna be fine here. And Talia, also you can use whatever you have for Punisher script. Now, for this team in particular, you can also swap the Talia or you can swap her for Luna if your runes are good enough. If you wanna use Luna, I would suggest full fight on everything. And then when you go fight the boss, you want to switch the targeting so that they target the boss first and they ignore the imprisoned soul. But for the vast majority of people, I would recommend going for Talia here. If you think you have good enough runes for Luna, you can try going for it. You can use the exact same Luna that you would use for Giants and Dragons in my rune consolidation teams. It works something like this. So you always have perfect AI on your Julie and Shaina. Then the mid boss is also perfect AI. You just do a bunch of team ups. Then again, Julie, Shaina, perfect AI clearing the wave. And then on the boss, you're trying to go for 2 cycles. Most of the times, your Talia will use correct skills, but as you can see, if she does skill 2, she can also do skill 1 afterwards, and it's also fine. And then you clear in 2 cycles. This is a weirdly fast run, but usually it's gonna run somewhere between 35 and 36 seconds average. If you want to make it even easier to rune, use Shaman instead of Talia, and if you want it even more consistent, either just put better runes on everything. The top speed for this team is 35 seconds average. If you want to run Luna, you will need a super high damage set on her with a bunch of damage on dark and whatever makes your skill 3 hit hard. You put everything on triple fight. So Julie, Shaina, even the Sabrina, and then it runs something like this. So here you have Julie, Shaina clearing the waves, as always. You want to make sure that you target the boss first. So you ignore the imprisoned soul. Here it's just Julie and Shaina again. And here, basically your Luna just does so much damage that even if you miss a bunch of defense breaks, she will clear the boss from more than half HP. And even if something goes super wrong, if you just ignore the imprisoned soul, Luna will always use her skill 3 on your Julie because she has the lowest HP. And then Ikaru will use team up on the boss, and that will usually just clear it. The Lapis Fran team with the runes that I showcased was running around 80 seconds average, and it failed about 4% of the runs. But it was runed with very much suboptimal runes, so if you have better runes, you can expect it to run slightly faster, and you can also expect it to be a lot safer. When it comes to the team-ups team with Shaman, it was running around 54 seconds average, with 98% success rate. So the success rate is pretty decent and it's already getting much faster. But I would recommend transitioning to a better team as soon as you have the units and or runes to do so. Now what I didn't showcase but I tested is that you can replace the Seren with either Shaman or Astar, and you can just run both. And that was running 42 seconds average and didn't fail once, but I didn't do as many runs as I would like. I believe that this team is probably the safest team of all of them if you don't have good enough rune quality, otherwise that title is going to go to the Luna team. As for the Twins team with Thalia, you can expect around 36 seconds average, also with extremely good success rate. When it comes to the Abigail plus Astar plus team-ups, it was running around 37.5 seconds average with 99.6% success rate. It's not a bad team by any means, but I would still recommend not going for this team because the Twins team is just faster and you can also reuse a bunch of the monsters for other dungeons. When it comes to the Luna team, you can expect anywhere between 33 and 35 seconds average depending on your runes. I've seen it going as low as 32.5 average per 30 run, but for a bigger sample size, this is about as good as I could get. When I removed the shield runes for fight runes, the average was about 1 second better, but I'm not sure what that whole thing was about. Maybe it was just a small sample size. Who knows? Anyway, the team is extremely safe if you have good enough runes. If you like this type of content, please let me know in the comment section down below the video, like the video and consider subscribing. That's it for this one, and see you in the next one.